Good morning, everybody. Let's start. Let's kick this off. My name is Henry Wendisch. I'm an equity analyst at NuWays, and today we have the honor to host Frequentis for a digital roundtable, and we're going to hear something about the first half of the year and get a little recap what has happened operationally. So please allow me to introduce Mr. Norbert Haslacher. He's the CEO of the company, and also we have Marin, who is the head of IR. Perfect. With that, Mr. Haslacher, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Hope you can hear me well. I'm Norbert Haslacher. I'm the CEO of the Frequentis Group, and I'm happy that you have spent or reserved some time for the presentation about Frequentis. Frequentis is a family company, was founded in 1947, so we are already a very mature company since more than 75 years, and we always focused on one customer segment or on one market segment, which is safety critical control rooms. So our focus is providing solutions into safety critical control rooms in two segments. One is air traffic management and the other one is public safety and transport, with sub-segments in air traffic management, which is typically air navigation service providers. So every country has his own air navigation service provider who is responsible for managing the airspace. Then defense is the second sub-segment of the overall air traffic management, where we usually deliver solutions into control rooms of the air forces, Army and Navy, but also in Homeland Security and Joint Force Commands. In the area of public safety, we usually deliver into public safety organizations like police forces, fire services and rescue, emergency and medical services, public transport, heavy rail and urban rail, or in maritime coastguards and offshore organizations, as well as port authorities. So what they all have together is they manage national safety critical infrastructure. Usually those customers are governments or organizations who are very close to governments or owned by governments and rely on taxpayer money. The whole market is underlying two major mega trends. One is the safety and security. I think it's obvious that due to a lot of tensions we currently have in the world, a lot of money is flowing into upgrading infrastructure, especially in NATO requirement areas, but also outside of NATO in Southeast Asia and in the United States. So upgrading safety critical infrastructure due to safety and security concerns are currently the major driver into our market. The other one is mobility. I want to share with you our intelligence about the upcoming infrastructure enhancements, especially in Asia. I know we have a discussion in Europe about CO2 consumption and flights, but when you look at or when you see it from a global perspective, I think Europe is not really relevant in the global development of flights and air traffic infrastructure, as Asia only is building around 300 airports the next 10 years, especially in China, but Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, India. So I think from a global perspective, mobility is a trend which is absolute intact. And those two drivers, security, safety, and mobility, are driving investments into our customer infrastructure. What are we doing? I think we have a very clear target for us. We want to be number one in control center solutions. And I think we have a good chance to achieve that. We always focused on only that niche segment, so we don't do anything else except this special segment, this special niche. The market overall is developing well. It's around $13 billion market annually, and we can currently address with our existing portfolio around 3.5 billion out of that 13 billion. We invest a lot into new solutions as we want to get more and more addressable out of that 13 billion market, because we have a very strong and global customer base. So we have around 500 customers in 150 countries in the world. So it's a very good customer base, and we need just more products and solutions over the next years to get more and more share of wallet of our existing customers. So we spend a lot of money into R&D. We do around 6% of our R&D is unfinanced, so it's around 30 million euros a year we invest into R&D. And when you look into our balance sheet, very typical for a family company, we do not capitalize any R&D, it's all expensed. And our focus areas are remote digital tower, where we develop a technology which is already in operation in Germany, Australia, United States, and also in Argentina, where you can manage tower, an air traffic control tower from remote. We got certification for that in Germany 4 years ago, and since then we started to export that technology to a lot of countries outside of Europe. Then what we are convinced is drone management. We think that the airspace will be challenged over the next 5 to 10 years with unmanned traffic vehicles. And there has to be a safe integration of unmanned traffic into an airspace where you have manned traffic. Therefore, we are convinced that there will be a drone management capability necessary over the next year to manage the interoperability of air traffic and unmanned traffic. And the third one where we invest most of our money is Mission X. Currently, especially in the European region, police forces and emergency services, they rely on classical digital radio networks like Tetra from Motorola or Airbus, but the bandwidth is very, very low, so you can only transmit text messages and voice. For 2024 and for the following years, this is not sufficient anymore. What control centers need is they need much more data from police forces or videos to be able to challenge the situation in the right way. Therefore, there is a trend now in Europe, the US has done it already, to use classical LTE 5G infrastructure and make that infrastructure with software available for mission-critical push-to-talk, video transmission, and big data transmission. Frequentis has bought a company in Spain which has developed such a software, and we are currently participating in the first tenders in Europe to build up such a mission-critical network based on 5G LTE. What's also important to us since our IPO, which we have done 2019, is M&A. So we have done around 10 acquisitions, especially in product areas, to enhance our product portfolio and to be able to build solution out of our own products and the new products we have bought in. But this is something I will share with you a little bit later on a separate slide. What we also see as a trend, because you have to understand our customers are governments or very close to governments from an organizational perspective. So they are very risk averse and they are very slow. So we have 95% public procurement. Of course, you have to fulfill all the requirements and have to be compliant with your references, with your history, with standards in software development, software assurances. This is very, very complex for companies who are not aware and not trained for such type of software development. And so the market entry barrier in our region, in our market is very, very high. That's why not many entries happen over the last years and decades. Nevertheless, although our customers are slow and very much driven by regulation and by standards, they now start to rethink their infrastructure and think towards cloud scenarios and also software as a service scenarios. I mean, the automotive industry, they have started 20 years ago, then slowly the commercial industries, and at the end, the financial services industry followed that path. Then the public sector stepped into that path, and now the safety critical public sector is also considering cloud and software as a service as the new operating model for their IT infrastructure. Next, Stefan, please. So that's my wow slide. There are not many countries where we are allowed to export and deliver where Frequentis is not present. So as I said, we have around 500 customers, existing customers around the world in 150 countries. We have a lot of subsidiaries, and at the bottom you see the development of our subsidiaries, where we started in Frequentis Vienna 1947, and then in 1990 we started to expand our footprint into Slovakia, UK, Germany, and the last years we expanded our presence into UAE to address especially the military defense market in Saudi Arabia and Qatar and United Emirates. And before we expanded to Norway, France, China, Brazil, and before that, Romania and Australia. So in total, we have 44 legal entities around the world, including nearshore software development in Eastern Europe as of Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Romania. We had our IPO, as I've mentioned already, 5 years ago. So I think we have shown a very good performance over the last 5 years. We have built up our revenue line up 50%, EBIT margin increased to 6.2. We've started with around 5.4. Order intake significantly was enhanced, share price plus 50%. We did IPO at 18. Today we are between 26, 28, and we added around 400 people to our organization. So overall, we are around 2,300 people worldwide, whereof 1,000 sit in our headquarters in Vienna. The rest is spread all over the globe. Next one. Yeah, here you see the companies we've bought. So you see it's a very, very international mix, because we always look international as we also export international. We have an export quota of around 97% from our headquarters in Vienna. And we added mostly products. So one US defense company was selling off their ATM portfolio and asked Frequentis directly if we want to take that over. So L3 Harris, which is a stock-listed defense contractor in the United States, they have sold their ATM portfolio directly to Frequentis, which consisted out of Orthogon in Germany, ATC Canada, and C4I in Australia, which is a special military voice communication system with a focus on the United States market. Then we added Regular as a public safety command and control system into our portfolio 2022. Then a Finnish startup for our drone business, Fravos for cybersecurity, firewalls against the internet, Gardrek, a data science and data analytics company in Norway, and recently Grois Informatics, which is a workflow company, as we see that our solutions are more and more demanded, including a voice workflow component to optimize automation in our existing customer base. Yeah, now some operational developments. I think we have a very good half year. We had a very good half year 2024, and we are even today on full speed in getting more order intake and revenues in than the year 2023. So that's still intact. We increased our order intake by nearly 10% compared to last year, half year. Orders on hand grew by 13%. So we have around 620 million orders on hand. And I have to say something, if we book orders on hand, it's a committed order of our customer. It's not a budget, it's a committed order which we have to deliver. Revenues went up to 10% to 206 million, EBITDA 6.7, EBIT minus 2.8, which is normal, the seasonality in our public sector business. And I have a slide for you showing you the last years to make you confident that having a negative EBIT during the half year is a very normal scenario for public sector business as they close the programs in the second half year. Equity ratio is 38.8%, and we usually have a very high net cash also this half year between 60 and 80 million. This year, a net cash position of 66.6 per million euros. We are really proud because we acquired a lot of big, we have won a lot of big contracts. One contract was in the United States. So for the Federal Aviation Administration, that's the administration which is managing the US airspace. And we have to implement a nationwide air-ground protocol converter for going to IP. The budget of this program for Frequentis is around $500 million for the next couple of years for the rollout, and then for maintenance for around 10 years. That's a very, very challenging project for us, but of course encouraging because it's such a big program for Frequentis, and it's a very mature product we have behind that demand of the FAA. What's also a large program for Frequentis, where we cannot mention due to restrictions the size of the program, is the German Armed Forces, Deutsche Bundeswehr, awarded us with a large program for the nationwide radar sensor network locations of Bundeswehr, and our product Milradnet, which is a surveillance data distribution system for whole Germany to upgrade their military infrastructure in Germany as part of the 100 billion program of the German Armed Forces to upgrade the German armed industry. Third area, also very interesting program. We have developed a new software I think 6-7 years ago. It's called LifeX. It's a communications platform for radio dispatching and emergency call taking for police forces and rescue service and fire service. We always were thinking about how can we also address the United States, because we have a very high reputation in the Department of Defense and the Federal Aviation Administration in the United States with a 20 years history. But the point is that the public safety business in the United States is very different to the European public safety business. Because in Europe, you usually have one organization per country, which is your buying center. And in the US, you have around 6,000 buying centers, because every sheriff can buy his or her own solution. We were looking therefore for a partner which is already established with its sales force in the public sector market, public safety market in the United States, and we have found Tate, which is a radio supplier to the public safety market in the United States. It's a family company based in New Zealand that do around 80 million already in the United States with the public safety customers. And we have signed a contract with Tate that we deliver the software licenses to Tate in the United States. They do the sale and the implementation to the customer and also the maintenance. And Frequentis does a pure software license business plus a software maintenance business in partnership with Tate to the customer. Let's see, we recently signed the contract, so we have big plans for that business model, but it's a complete new business model for Frequentis, that we only supply software or a CD and send an invoice for that and not do the operational work on site. But we have decided that this is maybe the best way to address the United States America market for public safety. Yeah, some figures. So we had a very high order intake after Corona. So we I think have done a very good job in sales, in winning public tenders over the last years. And in the first half year 24, also in the first half year 23, we had record order intakes. And I'm pretty sure that this will also continue till the end of this year, 2024 and beyond. When we look to our revenues on the next slide, so we did since 2020, and to be honest, Corona, of course, costed us a little bit of growth. I mean, we are really independent from macroeconomic trends because our customers, as I said, they are governmental entities managing national safety critical infrastructure. So they usually, you cannot rationalize that away or cannot stop managing your emergency call taking or stop managing your airspace. That's impossible. So you have to go through that crisis. And I think you can see that even during Corona, we had growth in our orders on hand and also in our revenues. Nevertheless, if we wouldn't have had Corona, I think maybe our growth would have been already a little bit better. Nevertheless, we are very proud about including the Corona years, having a 9% CAGR in orders on hand and a 12% CAGR in revenues when we see all the half years of the last 5 years. What's also important to me is that we do not create cluster risks in a specific account or in a specific region. So also from last year to this year, we have been growing in all our regions. Australia Pacific, a little bit, 20% in Asia, significantly in Americas due to the fact that we have won very large contracts in the United States, which will now be delivered for the next 5-6 years, and also in Europe. So I think that's a very good picture where you see that we grow all over the world, not only in one specific region. And the revenue splits in half year one is around 64% Europe, 17 Americas, 12 Asia, and 7% Asia Pacific. Australia Pacific. Next one. Yeah, here you see our typical flow of EBIT. When you see on the right side, our EBIT half year 18 is minus 5.5, at the end of the year plus 15.6. Next year, half year 19, minus 3.9, at the end of the year 7.2. Then we had 2 Corona years where we were not allowed to travel and saved millions of travel costs and marketing costs because we had no exhibitions. I think we see here the exception that we had no spendings. Therefore, we had around 0 EBIT in 2020. But what I want to show you here is that's a typical pattern in public sector business, that the first half year is negative when you collect all the costs, and the second half year, when you close your programs, you create the revenues and the profit for the whole year. And that's, I think, a very normal pattern for public sector. Yeah, when we come to profitability of the company, as I said, we started 2018, I think we had around 5.4% EBIT. 2019 for the group, we had 5.7. Then we had Corona, where we had a lot of savings due to not traveling and no exhibition. And that, of course, increased our EBIT, but from my perspective, was not healthy because we couldn't meet our customers. And we couldn't showcase our newest R&D and innovation in the exhibitions. So we came down to normal 2022-23 with around 6.5, 6.2%. Interesting is the margin split between the 2 segments, public safety, transport, and air traffic management. You see the development of public safety is an average around 12% EBIT. And that's very clear because we started 2014 to invest in transferring the hardware-centric solutions into pure software. And since 4 years, we implemented a software-centric business model in public safety. So our customers are now used to purchase and to procure public safety software and not hardware anymore. That costed us a lot of money. So when you look into our annual reports from 2012 to 2015, 16, 17, you will see that we have spent millions of euros in public safety to transform our hardware-centric product portfolio into cloud-based software-centric portfolio. And now I think we see the result of that, that the last 4 years, we had a very, very good EBIT in delivery of our software-centric business model. So public safety is much faster than air traffic control. Air traffic control, I think, is by far the most conservative industry I've ever seen due to a lot of safety regulation. Nevertheless, also public ATM has now, air traffic management has now started, as I said before, to rethink their infrastructure strategy and go more and more into IT. That's why we have started 2019 to now change our ATM portfolio also from proprietary hardware production into pure cloud-based software. The most prominent software product is the voice communication system X10, which can be deployed in an Amazon Web Service or Microsoft Cloud. And will follow the upcoming, from our perspective, the upcoming public procurements that VCS, voice communication systems, and data applications have to be deployable in virtual cloud environments. That's why we started to invest. It will cost us around 60 to 70 million. We have spent already a couple of millions, which is all paid by our EBIT. The last years. So that's why the EBIT margin in ATM is going down. Nevertheless, what we expect is the same pattern as we had in public safety, that in a couple of years, when we have finished our transformation into software, we target similar margins in air traffic management, which are then comparable to public safety and transport. Next slide. Revenue split. For us, it's very important that we educate our customers not to buy hardware as the solution which is tendered anymore. So we have to train our customers that they can buy now for their applications in the control center also software like SAP or Microsoft. So this is something we have to train them. And I think we can be really proud because we have, over the last years, educated our customers to purchase or to procure hardware, standard IT hardware, separated from software and separated from services in a lot of areas. And when we see our revenue splits by revenue type, so around 10% of our revenues are hardware. That's our own produced hardware, or that's third-party hardware, Dell or Fujitsu classical IT infrastructure. We want to keep that as low as possible because we cannot put our expected margins on top of commercial off-the-shelf software or hardware. That's why our own value chain of our revenues is about 90%. Only 10% is third party, maximum. Then we have around 20% software licenses in our revenue types. Around 30% is maintenance, so that's recurring. And 35% is in-project services, where we deliver our solutions and our software into the environment of our customers. Next one. That's my last slide, and then I think we have half an hour spent. So what's the outlook and management agenda for the end of the year, till the end of the year? I mean, we started very comfortably into 2024 with an orders on hand, which was already over 600 million. And now the first half year, we even have increased that orders on hand figure to 621. So we feel very comfortable for the year. As I said, we aim to increase revenues and order intake compared to the whole 2023 fiscal year. We have a very low capex, which is only about 12 million. And as I said, our R&D, which we spend, is expensed. It's not capitalized, so it's company funded. EBIT margin in 2024 is about 6%. As you know, when you win large programs, which will run the next 5, 6, 7 years, you'll always have upfront investments to make the solution ready for the rollout. And when you see our orders, which we all have published the last 12 months, then you see that we have won a lot of large orders the last 12 months in France, in the United States, in Germany, in Norway, which will give us a good revenue line for the next years. But of course, we have to invest now into the upfront costs. That's why we have given a guidance for 2024 that we expect to be around 6% EBIT in 2024, keeping in mind that all our R&D, which we have to do for transferring hardware into software and having expenses for our large programs we have won, are considered as part of this 6%. Yes, I think that's the end of our presentation, and I'm now giving back to the moderator and thank for your participation so far.
Well, thank you so much for your presentation. We will now allow the floor for questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, and then I will unmute yourself or type a question into the chat. First question comes from Daniel Lyon. I will give you the ability to speak now. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Norbert. Hi, Stefan. Good to see you. I would have actually 3 questions. I would take them one by one. Starting on the potential, the Asian potential you mentioned, the 300 roughly airports that are going to be built. You know, when I look at your development, you know, we've seen good order intake in especially Europe, the US, not so much in Asia. And given this huge potential there, do you see the organization set up already in order to really monetize on this huge potential, or do you need to expand your organization stronger in Asia in order to really be ready to take this opportunity when it arises?
Daniel, thank you for the question. So what we see currently is that the airport programs, they do mortar and bricks. So they build runways, they build offices, they build buildings, they build towers. And when they are ready with that, then they will tender, of course, the applications and software solutions being used for air traffic control. The setup is currently in a way that we have a sales office with, I think, 6 salespeople for defense, air traffic management, and public safety based in Singapore. We also have built a low-cost delivery center in the Philippines, where we have around 70 to 80 engineers, which they cost around 1/4 of the costs of a German or Austrian employee, to be able to be on the margin side also competitive when the bids are coming out within the next 2 to 3 years. And you know, in our industry, you need a lot of knowledge before you can deliver solutions to air traffic control centers or towers. So I think the setup is a good one. We are prepared. What we expect this next year, the first big RFPs, and where we will definitely participate. And yeah, I think 26 we can then judge what we have won of those application tenders and what we have not won.
Perfect, thanks. Then I would like to jump to your tight partnership in the US. Do you see already first results, or when would you expect first contracts to be signed? And could you maybe provide us with a typical share of contract share when you supply the software into the solution? And maybe a follow-up on this, do you see maybe an increased warranty out of this setup if you are not implementing the solution yourself, but leaving it to Tide?
Yeah, so the Tate partnership, it's a typical McKinsey type think big, start small, scale fast thing. So what we think is it's a complete new operating model for us, and for us it's a test. So because what we aim is we deliver software. The software requirements in the United States are very, very similar to the requirements we already have built into our software, LiveX. The only big difference is the radio network, because we have Tetra in Europe and they have B25 in the United States. But as we have one already in Australia, they are also on B25, a contract 4 years ago. We already managed to develop this interface to the US radio network. So I think from a solution fit and product fit, that's a very good situation for our product. So we can really provide just the product and give it to Tate to implement it. The revenue, of course, will not be as high as if we would deliver it ourselves, but the margin will be very, very high because we only deliver software to them. And we will train them. The first couple of projects, we will help them and to implement, to motivate them that this partnership is working. What's the average deal size? It's just a guess at the moment. It's for us, software license, it's maybe between 100,000 and 300,000 per sheriff office. As I said, there are 5,000 of sheriff offices in the United States. How much market share we can really conquer is now the question the next 6 to 12 months. I think we have to win the first ones now to be able then to see how satisfied they are with our software. But the market is promising for us, and especially the margin we can generate due to the pure license business we will have is, for me, the major reason for that type of partnership. Your second part of the question, warranty, as the software requirements are very similar to what we already have, and our SLA is based on level 3. So the solution and the on-site field service is done by Tate themselves. And only if they identify an incident in the software, they will call a Vienna call center. I think we don't have that massive investment into warranty. And we also, of course, take warranty per year based on our license price, typical SAP pricing model we have implemented also for LiveX for the United States. So I think after 20, 30 customers, our warranty team should be already fully financed by the software maintenance we will get from the US.
Sounds interesting. Thank you. And then lastly, the 60 to 70 million investments required for developing the software-centric solutions in ATM. Is this related only to X10, or is it related to the majority of the most prominent solutions, or how shall we see that?
Only X10, Daniel.
Okay, and what would be needed then in order to really expand to, let's say, the most important, most prominent solutions? Is this another 70 to 80 million then, or would it take less?
Yeah, I think this is something we have currently on our radar, because the companies we have bought during our M&A phase the last years are all software companies. So it's not the challenge then to transform the hardware-centric Frequentis solution to software. It's then more the challenge to create solutions where the software packages are interoperable and can talk to each other based on Kubernetes or any container technologies which are available then. That's more the challenge we have, not the transformation into software. How much money we need for that? I think part of it will be financed by customers because they are very interested in that type of solutions. Some of our customers already built their own data centers where they want to have virtual environments, and Kubernetes as a container technology orchestration for managing their software packages also in safety critical areas, not only in administrative. But I can't tell you a figure now. I think you have to give us a little bit more time, as all our focus is now on X10. And I think the next 12 to 18 months, we will have a little bit more insight about the program, how to bring those software packages together into one solution based on container technology.
Understood. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Now, next in line is Mr. Christoph Eckert.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hello.
Hi. I have two questions, please. First, on the United States, can you provide an update on, on your projects in ATM?
Mm-hmm.
And second, on your personnel costs, they increased by 16 million in the first half this year. So what do you expect in the second half and maybe already for next year in terms of personnel cost expenses?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christoph. So first of all, our ATM programs are running really well. We got the first contract out of the fence program from Verizon. And we expect to have, as planned, the in-service decision, which is necessary then for the rollout of the approved technology, as planned, I think, in Q1 2025, Q2 2025. And the first orders for the test centers are already in-house. For APC, that's the program I have mentioned on my slide, which is around a $500 million budget of 477, where it's a connection to the IP world on the air-ground infrastructure. We are currently in the design phase together with the customer. And there we expect an in-service decision end of 25 and the rollout 26, mid of 26. That's currently the time frame. Both programs are running very, very well. Concerning personal costs, first half year, I said that in my half year reporting in August. Unfortunately, in Austria, we had a very high inflation. I don't want to go into details about the reasons for that, because that was out of our control. But at the end of the year, we had, again, 8% inflation. And due to the labor law in in Austria, we have to transfer in negotiations this inflation on our salary costs. That's called Kollektivvertragsverhandlungen. So what we had is we had to increase our actual labor costs by 8% again. We already had to increase it 2023 by 8%. We now had to increase it again for the Austrian labor force by 8% in 2024. That's why we have an increase. What's the outlook for 25? Inflation is down now to, I think, 2.4%. I hope that the gas price, where Austria is very much relying on, is not going through the roof again. But the expectation for salary increases without adding additional resources in 2025 currently is 4.5%.
Okay, maybe two follow-ups. So for the full year 2024, so you expect an increase of 30 million year over year, or is that even more after 16 in the first half?
I don't know, Stefan, do you know the annual labor costs of Vienna? You mean Vienna, Christoph, or the AG?
No, for the group.
Oh, no, for the group. What I said, the 8% was only for Austria,
okay.
not for the group.
Yeah.
So the increase that this is Stefan. So the increase that we have seen in the first half, as the collective bargaining agreement or Kollektivvertrag went for Austria went into force in January 2024. It lasts for the full year, so there will be no additional hike. But it's because you mentioned the relation to revenue. It's always higher in the first half, and then it goes down because the majority of revenues is being booked in the second half. So of course there will be an increase, but it will be then a little bit lower.
Okay, and a follow up on the United States. I'm wondering on your digital tower projects if you can provide any update, or should we wait until the next year to get news?
If you're one of my LinkedIn followers, or if you're active on LinkedIn, maybe you have seen the pictures of 3 weeks ago. I was in the United States in the tech center in Atlantic City to see our remote tower and talk to the FAA controllers. They very much like what they see, and currently the plan is that we should get certification for the remote tower of Frequentis end of 25.
Okay, and that's both for military and civil, or how does it work?
That's correct.
Okay,
that's for military and for civil. We are then the only certified remote tower solution in the US. Nevertheless, the US already ordered a tower for military use outside of the United States, because there they do not need the FAA approval if they deploy the remote tower outside of US airspace.
Okay, because I read in Australia they have a one sky approach, so it's both civil and military together, right? And is it the same in the United States, or how does it work?
No, I mean, in the US, the military does what they want. They don't ask the FAA, but what they want is that they have interoperability and therefore ask for FAA certification for specific capabilities like remote tower, ATC, and voice. On the air defense side, they don't ask anybody.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for your questions. Now there are some questions in the chat, so we can continue on this side. First one on the chat is from Mr. Jan Kaufmann. Are you aiming to bring the operating margin in the ATM segment in line with the high margin in the PST segment in the future? And if so, what measures will you take to achieve this? And why are the margins still very different at the moment? We touched upon this in the presentation, but a bit more color.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to explain during my presentation. As I said, when I started in this company in 2015, Mr. Bardach, the owner and major shareholder of the company, asked me to transform the Frequentis business model from a hardware-centric solution provider to a software-centric solution provider, as he was anticipating that our industry will transfer their infrastructure from electronics into IT, into the IT world, and he was definitely right. So we started first in public safety and transport, where we invested our money to replace our hardware solutions with cloud-based software solutions. As I said, it costed a lot of money to do that, which was expensed by our EBIT. And we also changed the customer purchasing methodology, because they were not used to buy software for safety critical applications. They were only used to buy hardware solutions for safety critical applications. And it took us a couple of years, first of all, to replace our hardware solutions with our own software, because we talk about high tech with very high software assurance levels. You have to fulfill certifications and of course complexity. And when we have been ready with our software, and we also educated our customer to buy software instead of hardware, then we started to achieve a double-digit margin in public safety and transport, which you can see now since the last 3-4 years. So the same situation we now have in ATM. We started now to replace our hardware solutions with software. So we invest a lot of money from our EBIT into replacing our hardware solutions, especially on the X10 side, which is the follower of our voice communication system. And in parallel, we start to educate our customers how they can purchase software for their voice capability and what they have to build up on the IT infrastructure side. We have won 3 major launching customers for that software already. One is Austrian, the other one is NAV Canada. They want to deploy 1,000 workplaces with that new solution over whole Canada. And Norway are also the first customers for the X10 software solution for voice communication system. And then we want to see a similar picture to public safety. When you ask me about group, what is the group expectation? What I said is after we have finished our portfolio transformation from hardware to software, I would see us around 10% EBIT over the whole group from a midterm to long-term perspective after we have changed everything as just mentioned and proven in public safety already.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Next question also in the chat from Mr. Spang. 4 questions in total. The first one is, what was the total order volume you received in the first half of 2024, besides the order intake you showed? This is maybe going towards the budgets that you mentioned, but not the confirmed orders.
That's hard to say because we usually do not so much care about the budget volume, because we have seen already competitors, they have won a frame contract and never did any work for that customer. So in total, when I take SNCF and the other railway program we have won and the FAA, I would say it's nearly 1 billion, which we have in budgets won the last 6-8 months. But we only count the 100% orders which we have to deliver and where the customer committed to pay for that delivery. That's the 630 million which we have shown in our orders in hand.
Perfect. Next one, can you share some KPIs about growth, revenue growth, profitability?
Yeah, it's a very, very small company, and we didn't buy Greuss because of additional revenues or market segments. We have bought Greuss, I think it's 8 people sitting in Carinthia. They are experts in workflow management systems and also develop their own workflow management system, which we will use, first of all, for Frequentis operations internally, because I see a demand in getting more efficiency in our own organization, in our own processes, due to the fact that we have grown so significantly the last years in terms of legal entities, but also in revenues and complexity. I want to automate Frequentis internally, but we also see the demand on our software solutions to be automated by workflow management systems. And we take them to Eurocontrol, we take them to the FAA, and in all our aeronautical information management system, they are part of it. So I would say revenue is not the key here. It's that we can maybe add additional USPs to our current solution. So it's a very small company, as I said, 8 people sitting in Carinthia. And 60% of the revenues were anyhow with Frequentis. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The third question was regarding salary increases in Austria. I think we touched upon this, so we can skip this. The last question for Mr. Spang is, how much revenue do you already do in the field of drone management?
Yeah, drone management, I think, is still small. It's around 3-4 million a year. But we have won really nice ANSPs as our new customers. And we definitely see that the customers think more and more how to manage the increasing demand of drone traffic in their country and how they can manage the coexistence between an unmanned vehicle and a manned vehicle in a regulated airspace. And so our strategy is clear. We want to win as much ANSVs as possible and put our UTM solution in there to have then an installed base and go from there when it comes to demand for integration of the two airspaces, the unmanned and the air traffic managed airspace. That's the future, we think. And it will take a couple of years, but the regulation of the European Union is in a good shape now already. So they have done a lot to build a good regulation baseline for the countries to implement them. So I think for us, everything is running into the right direction.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Then another question also coming from the chat. Could you please talk a bit about cash conversion and why in the last couple of years it has not been great, even before acquisitions? What should we expect going forward?
Stefan, you want to answer that?
I mean, we have seen that, or you have seen in the past that working capital is can show quite significant numbers in the past quarters. We don't have an absolute focus on working capital that has to do with inventory that has to be built up in the first half and in the second half, then being used. We decided that we have an eye on working capital, but it is not that high that we have to put all our focus onto the working capital. It was always below 20% for the full year, and of course this also plays then into cash conversion. But we are a cash-rich company. We want to stay net cash, and I think that's the main message in this topic.
Perfect. I hope that answers the question. And we have a follow-up from Mr. Spang regarding the drone management. How big do you think can this business get in the future, e.g. in the next 5 years or so?
That's a very good question. I don't know. I really do not know. We think it must be big because I don't know when, but we think it must be big because when we see how many use cases are generated for the usage of drones, not only in the health space, also in infrastructure, inspection, surveillance. So there are so many use cases coming up. I think for me, it's obvious that the density of drone traffic has to increase, and therefore the risk of having a conflict with a manned vehicle like an aircraft or a helicopter are obvious. So yeah, we are at a very early stage, but I think it's obvious that it needs a system which is managing that separation of UTM and ATM. But how big that business will be, I don't know. There are ideas that it will be as big as ATM. There are ideas that it will replace ATM. So at the moment, it's very volatile. Ask me in 2 years. Maybe then we have a better answer on that one.
Yes, thank you very much. We just had the national test alarm, so our phones just went off and had a lot of noise, so I was a bit distracted.
So it's working.
Yeah, it's working. Very good.
Yeah.
So public safety is working in Germany.
It's working very good.
Next question, also from the chat. Who are your main competitors in China, Indonesia, and Asia more broadly? And are you looking to take this is another question, are you looking to take the LiveX platform into any other geographies in the next few years?
Yeah, our competition is very diverse, I would say. About China, I want to say China is for us, it's not a focus country for us. It never was, because only for the civil air traffic communications, management system, but for nothing else, due to the fact that we did not get certification to export our technology to China for good reasons. So China is not in our focus, but the rest of Asia, which is large enough, is in our focus. And there we have usually the same competitors we have in Europe, because there is no Asian industry in safety critical control rooms. It's always on the voice side, CT from Italy or Rohde & Schwarz from Germany. In the tower segment, it's Indra from Spain and Saab from Sweden. On the ATM side, it's Thales from France, and maybe some US companies like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Leidos. But that's pretty much it. There are not many players on that field, I have to say. And as I said in the beginning, the market entry barrier is so high due to regulation and standards and software assurances that we don't see any new entries into that market. We see more and more stepping out of that market because the defense market is so dominant at the moment that especially the companies who are not focusing on air traffic control are using the resources for defense because there's so many contracts for them to deliver.
Thank you.
LiveX was the second question, yeah? Exactly. Concerning LiveX, I mean, we have a clear tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 strategy roadmap where we want to expand our footprint. The biggest countries for sure are Germany and the UK and the Middle East. We have won now the first Asian program. And I think there are a lot of fantasies. With Tate now, we are going into the US. So our focus for the next 3 years will be another European countries, because the European Union is funding parts of that technology in Europe for increasing blue light organization infrastructure. So there are European funds available for that. So we will focus on Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. I would say those are the focus areas for the next 5 years in minimum. Where we will not focus is Africa and South America.
Perfect, thank you. Now a question from Mr. Schnitzer. Please unmute yourself. You're free to speak now.
Yes, thanks for taking my question. I've got a question on the management board. Since the 1st of January, you have a COO, and what specific improvements in operational efficiency and scalability of the business model does the management board expect as a result of this expansion, and how will this, or how could this affect the medium-term margin targets?
Okay. Thank you. Just a small correction. We have since this year the CTO new on board. The COO is already since 2 years in charge. Nevertheless, the question is still valid. I want to answer it in the following way. I start with the recent change in the board. So first of all, we are now 4 board members. All board members are not part of any major shareholder. So we are all externals and independent from any shareholders. So no family member is in the board of the major shareholder. That's also, it was always important for the family that they have external managers and not family members. The new CTO is 45 years old. He's coming from software engineering. And I think that shows already our focus, that we want to be from the top aligned when it comes to our software transformation story. So he was the major driver for LiveX, our public safety cloud solution, and he did it in a very good way, so that he was promoted to the CTO, driving all technology developments within the Frequentis group. What I expect is that we change our legacy coming from hardware in some areas and have a much bigger drive on transforming into a software-centric organizational model and also technology model. The COO, which is Monica. Monica is now nearly 2 years on board. Monica's focus is to focus on our project execution. So she is responsible for delivering our projects. I think she has identified already some areas of improvement where we can optimize our project margins due to inefficiencies in project delivery, especially in combination with our product R&D development, because in the past we have spent a lot of days and time in every single project to combine our products together into the solution we want to deliver. And now we try to do that already in the product, that the interoperability in the product is already given, and therefore reduces time in project delivery from project to project. I think that's a big leverage where we can optimize our margins. The other point is that due to the fact that we see the future coming up with more solutions instead of single product purchases, we need competence in IT integration management. So we need IT integration project managers who know how to manage an integration project. And that skill level is not easy to get, and it's not easy to develop, but Monica has that on her list, that she wants to build up this competence in the company, as we see upcoming projects the next couple of years, where we have one already part of them, where we have to deliver integrated solutions, not singular products anymore, which needs a different competence on the customer, on the delivery side. So those are the focus points for the CTO and the COO for 24, 25, 26, I would say.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, thank you for your question. Now we have some more questions in the chat. We have one on the follow-up question on the working capital. Can you speak more about what makes it move from one to the other, and why management doesn't want to reduce it or make it more predictable or stable?
Okay, I will take that. I hope you can see the working capital chart in the presentation now. Well, that what really moved, let's say, in the past was inventories, as you see. Yeah, that has to do with the supply chain issues during the Corona years, and also with the fact that some suppliers were discontinuing specific electric components where you have a last chance to order, and we have to buy for lifetime of this of the projects at once. So that was driving up inventories, and in trade accounts receivables were growing in accordance with the company growth. Contract assets, yes, would be nice if we could really actively do something there, but the contract assets, that's work in progress that has not yet been invoiced, and we are in the project business. So once to fully invoice a project, we rely on the customer, or we need the customer's signature that everything is fine and that he has taken over the project, the services, be it software services or software and hardware services or hardware components. So that's why we always see, speaking and echoing what Norbert said, in the public sector business, that most of it is in the second half. That's why usually working capital in % of revenue is higher in the half year and should be less in the full year. So these are components that we could even if you put focus on it, it would be hard to control, because if the customer is not fully happy with the solution that we delivered, and the solution has not been accepted by the customers, we have to do some rework for another 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, and it goes beyond June 20, the June barrier or the December barrier. Then of course, then it's shown in the working capital.
Perfect. I hope that answers the question. And we have one more question in the chat from Mr. Effler. Regarding your product portfolio, which kind of products, software offerings, which kind of products or software offerings are you missing in your product portfolio and are keen to acquire?
Yeah, there are plenty of, and it depends on the sub-segment. So we need different, we could add different product lines to our public safety business than to our defense business or ATM business. So that's a very, very complex answer, I would say. But since a couple of years, especially since we have done the IPO, we have a very strict strategy process. And we rework our strategy twice a year. And have developed our own market model, because you cannot buy data which is reflecting the global control center market in safety critical infrastructure. So we have built our own market model. So I think we know exactly what we need, what we want to buy, and what we do not want to buy. Of course, I don't want to share that publicly, because that's part of our strategy. And what I know is that we can, at the moment, only address around 25% of the addressable market. And with the customer base, we have 500 government customers all over 150 countries. I know that we have a good and large customer base. And only 25% of the share of wallet is addressable for me. It's obvious that we are working on expanding our portfolio over the next years, and I don't need more customers, which is a good thing. So customers know us, they value us, they see us as a reputational deliverer, and they trust us. And what we need is a little bit more products. We know exactly what we want, and we will either develop them ourselves or buy them via M&A over the next couple of years. That's our strategy.
Perfect. And I think that also concludes the Q&A. There are no more questions in the chat. So this just leaves me to say a very big thank you to Mr. Haslacher and Mr. Marin for your live presentation, and also for the very nicely answered Q&A session. And also to all participants who asked the questions, either live or via the chat. I think we had a very productive talk here, and then I will hand over for some closing remarks to Mr. Haslacher.
Yeah, I'm really happy about the questions, to be honest. They were very, very good questions. I will take them and put them into my next presentation, so that the questions won't arise anymore. Thank you very much for your time and your interest in Frequentis, and Stefan and I will be available for further information requests anytime. And we are also on a lot of conferences till the end of the year. I think the next one is Kapitel Forum in Frankfurt, Stefan. And if you're interested, we can put you on our distribution list for our investors. Stefan, maybe you want to say something?
Yes, please just drop me a line at investor@frequentis.com. And under the financial calendar, I also have listed all the conferences, virtual ones and present ones, that we are going to participate in the remaining of the year. And with this, thank you from Austria.
Thank you as well, and everybody have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Henry. Bye-bye.
Bye.